right, so let's just start with everybody taking a few deep breaths and closing their eyes, relaxing the body and the mind, and allowing ourselves to feel the floor beneath us and the earth beneath the floor. Feeling all the tension draining away from the body and the mind. And we picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. And we picture that this grove is lit by a beautiful white light. And in the center of the grove is a bonfire blazing forth. And the light of the bonfire is a golden light mixing with the light all around us. And we recognize that we are in the midst of perfect love and perfect trust. And this energy is a part of us, and it burns away everything that is unlike itself, leaving us healthy and happy, successful, powerful, and prosperous. Thank you very much. Together we all say, blessed be. All right, so we are in a class that's called Advancing Your Craft, and this is Witchcraft Beyond the Basics 2. And I'm really happy to see everybody on that's registered for the class, those of you who are actually on the call, and those of you who have to listen to it offline, because I think pretty much, at least most of you I've seen in class before, or I know you. I know kind of who you are. So, you've been around a while, and you've either taken a Witch's Primer and or Beyond the Basics 1, or some other training of its equivalent with a different teacher or with a different sort of training system. So that way we're able to move into the type of magical and craft training that I want to get into with this class, and that I've designed the class to be about, which is more advanced work. And a lot of times when people think of advanced work, they think more complicated work. And in reality, complicated magic is more for beginners. They need it. They need all the bells and whistles. They need all the accoutrements in order to get the idea that they're doing something effective or magical. There's sort of a type of training wheel. And there's nothing wrong with it. And even if you're more advanced, there's nothing wrong with using stuff, and tools and things like that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But the more advanced you become, the simpler the concepts become. And beginners can't wrap their head around simple concepts. It's too hard. It's too difficult. And I know that sounds almost oxymoronic or sounds counterintuitive, but it's the case. Complicated magical infrastructures are not very advanced. The truth is simple. What magic is very simple. That doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. So we're going to strip it all away over the next 6 weeks so that you can actually make it work for you. And I hope that's why you're here. If you're not here for that, or if you're not quite ready for that, you may want to just, listen to the lectures and look at the materials and put it on the back burner for now, and maybe go back to some of the other classes for a while, and then come back to it when you are ready. There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't feel like you're ready for some of the stuff we're talking about, or if it's not clicking with you, that's fine. You can always come back to it later. But for most of us here, I think it's about time that we stop playing around too much and start getting down to business with what really works. All right, so I want to do a little bit of just review of theory so that we're all sort of on the same page here. And then we'll move into your first week's worth of homework, and that's what we'll probably deal with for the bulk of the class, of what I'm expecting of each of you this week that are going to be practicing this. Some of what we're going to be talking about may seem like a little hard to grasp at times because I'm like I said, I'm really stripping everything down. I'm paring it down so that I want you to learn how to work with the powers as they are in their most abstract form and as they exist within your own power bodies, within your own psyche, and within your own aura. We're not dealing with a lot of symbols as much as we are dealing with actual powers in this class. And that will make more sense as we get into it. So let's first of all talk about that the different levels of the mind. There's really there's only one mind. Okay, mind is inseparable. There's no division in mind. There's no mind is invisible, and so in essence, all minds are joined, both minds of incarnate entities and those which might be called disincarnate entities or pre-incarnate or super incarnate, all planes, all levels in the entire universe on a purely abstract level. There is no division in mind. There's only one mind. The way that we start to divide ourselves mentally is through things like personality and things like bodies. Okay, so put a pin in that for a second. There's only one mind, but the individual person allows themselves to wear a mental shroud or veil, if you will, that is basically called our personality. And the personality is starting to take mind and define it into what something is and what it's not. And so for an individual, any kind of individual, whether it be a human or a rock or a dog or a planet or any kind of individual consciousness, they are individualized in order to allow themselves to have a way to, at some point in their development or their evolution, become self-aware. So, but remember, individual means undivided. So a true individual is one who is undivided within their own within their own relationship to the universe. So think of the word individual, indivisive, undivided, individual. So the true you is actually completely at home with being at one with the universe. And that's where all magical power lies, is the part of you that is very aware of its own connection to all power. And that's what we're going to be tapping into more and more as time goes on. Now, there's within the mind, there are basically 3 levels of mind, okay, in the individual mind. In the human individual mind, I should say. Humans are very unique on this planet in that we have these 3 levels of mind available to us. It's sort of like our bodies are different because we have opposable thumbs, so that gives us more power and ability within the world than any other life form in as far as bodies are concerned. But mentally, we have 3 divisions of mind, which work similarly to the opposable thumb, giving us more power and access to choice. Most other life forms on the earth are not able to have self-awareness and therefore cannot make choice. They are ruled purely by instinct. There are obviously some life forms that are beginning to understand choice, and you know that with your own pets. You can see that they have some semblance of choice, but they are pretty much still ruled by the fact that they don't have the opposable thumb in the physical world, and they don't have these 3 fully developed levels of mind within the mental world. So these 3 levels of mind are your superconscious. So I'm going to just label them, okay? These are arbitrary labels, but these labels work for us. The superconscious mind, and that's the part of your mind that we'll get into in a little bit. Okay, so that's your higher self, if you will. There's your conscious mind, and that is the part of you that you think you're the most familiar with, because that's the part of you that makes choices, that thinks that it's thinking, that thinks that it knows who it is, thinks that it knows what it's looking at, thinks that it knows something. So your conscious mind really thinks it knows something, and it can know something, but sometimes it's awfully ignorant, but it still thinks it knows. So the conscious mind is that which you are conscious of. And then you have the deep mind, also sometimes known as unconscious or subconscious or whatever. So the deep mind is the part of you that is habitual, and that's on a very basic, fundamental level in regards to being able to keep you alive. It keeps your heart beating, it keeps you breathing, it keeps your brain functioning. It does body functions. It handles fight or flight, that kind of stuff. But it also is responsible for higher functions. And the higher functions that it's responsible is for being able to play a sonata, for instance. You practice and practice and practice. Pretty soon it becomes part of the subconscious mind or the deep mind, and then you're able to actually play it without thinking of each note one at a time. The conscious mind is not capable of doing that. The conscious mind can't multitask like the subconscious mind can. But the subconscious mind, or the deep mind, the magical mind, I like to call it sometimes, is capable of doing very, very intense work. Now, the thing about the deep mind is it does not have the function of making a choice. It does only what it is taught. It does only what is, for lack of a better word, programmed to do. And that's why I call sometimes the God mind the conscious mind, and the goddess mind the deep mind, because in magic, the conscious mind is capable of planting a seed with their consciousness into the deep mind, and then the deep mind will bring it forth into being. Much like riding a bike, learning a language, learning how to type, all of those things, you think about it enough and you practice it enough with your conscious mind that it becomes subjectified within the deep mind so that it becomes automatic and you don't have to think about it so much. And a lot of people take that for granted, but they haven't even scratched the surface of what that deep mind is capable of doing, and that is the essence of magic. If you're capable of contacting and working with the deep mind on a more profound level and learning how the two phases of mind function with each other, instead of being at war with each other, they become lovers. It becomes like the great right. So they become partnership. It becomes a partnership, so that your conscious mind makes choices. Well, I want this. Well, I want that, and it's able to tell the deep mind what it wants, and the deep mind says, "Oh, okay, I'll do that." Right, and so. But that takes some work and it takes some practice. It's not something that just happens because you know that is possible. You know, sometimes when you have a bad habit that's really ingrained, the deep mind really thinks that's what you want because you've been asking for it for so long that it's not going to give up that deep habit just because one day you say blah blah blah. I want to be done with that habit. You have to work at it. You have to actually reprogram, in a way, your subconscious mind. You have to plant new seeds, and those new seeds have to become so strong that they actually kill off the weeds around them. So the new thoughts, the new choices that you make that are at odds with old circumstances in your life have to be repeated over and over again, magically speaking, so that those seeds become plants which are stronger than the weeds that are in your garden at this point. And that way you don't have to go and spend a lot of time weeding your garden like a lot of psychoanalysis is really about taking one thought at a time and trying to uproot it and figure it out. That's not very effective, magically speaking, because there's only so many hours in the day. So what we do instead is we think in terms of finding what we do want and making that new spell very, very powerful and strong, so that it literally obliterates the old thought patterns and those old weeds in the garden. In your handout, I talk about the feminine mind. You could see it as being ruled by both the moon or symbolized, not ruled by, symbolized as the moon and the earth, whereas the conscious mind could be symbolized as the sun. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule. It's just a way to think about it. So the moon governs the tides. It governs the menstrual cycle, right? And remember, your body, the gender of your body is just a way that your body appears. That's not who you are. Gender identity in the body has nothing to do with the fact that you have the god and the goddess in you. So whether you have a male body or a female body, you are still subject to a type of psychic menstrual cycle. You have just like the moon rules the tides on the earth and rules the female body in regards to reproduction on the earth. It also rules your magical reproduction system, or your goddess self, or your deep mind. So we're going to be working with the moon in a very different way in this class than what you're used to, and it might cause you some alarm. In fact, a few of the things I'm going to ask you to do might cause you to momentarily go, what? Because we're going to be ripping away a lot of your security blankets so that you can get to work and get some real results done. You can go back to them after the class, I promise, but just for this class, we're going to be doing a few things very differently, and there's a reason for doing it that way. It's not just arbitrary. Okay, so we've got the mental, the masculine mind and the feminine mind, the conscious mind and the deep mind. Now, what did I say? We have the superconscious mind. Think of the superconscious mind maybe as the morning star, or something like that, or the North Star, the guiding light, whatever, if you need a symbol. It is what might be termed your divine self, or your true self, or your higher self. If you were a Christian, it would be called Christ. But the problem is that the Christians don't understand their own metaphysics, so they get really weird. But Christ simply means the anointed one. Everyone's anointed. Everyone's been anointed. I mean, by the fact that you're breathing, everybody's already there. Everybody's holy. So the superconscious mind is the part of you that is connected to the universal mind, which keeps the planets on their course. It keeps the moon working so that it pulls the tides properly. It turns embryos into babies. It is if you think about think of the biggest geniuses you can think of. Let's think Beethoven and Einstein and Schopenhauer and all these people that are geniuses. They pale in comparison to what your higher mind is, or your superconscious mind is. It is pure genius. It is what people might want to call infinite or perfect intelligence, perfect genius. And that's a power that you may not be aware of, the fact that it's always been a part of you, and that is truly part of what you are capable of accessing. And just like you don't have to worry about making the sun rise in the morning, you don't have to worry about your superconscious mind. It can take care of things for you. And so a lot of what we do in magic is we think, I have to do it, I have to do it, I have to do it, right? No, you don't. You just like if you were thinking in terms of, I need to get up and cross the room. Well, you've made a choice. I want to get up and cross the room. So you tell that to your deep mind. The deep mind has already gotten into the habit of what it feels like to get up, got in the habit of what it feels like to walk across the room. So all you have to do is choose, I'm going to get up and walk across the room. The way that your body is designed and built is part of your superconscious mind. It already knows how to do it. So the superconscious and the subconscious mind are together supporting you. Your conscious mind simply has to decide what it wants. So in magic, we have to learn what we want, and we have to learn how to get it, as far as how to access the powers that will get it for us. But we don't have to concern ourselves with how is it going to come. Just like we don't have to concern ourselves with, well, wait a minute, and when I'm walking across the room, what about the tibia? Now, do I have to have this muscle fire in this way or that way? And what about my heart? Do I have to get my heart rate up a little bit more in order to substantiate that, to support that? Do I have to have a deeper breath? No, that all is automatic. We don't have to put any thought into it. In fact, it's better if we don't, because we start thinking about that, then we'll trip, because we're forgetting what our intention is, which is to cross the room. Same thing with magic. You want to do, a money spell, or you want to do a spell for a new job. You don't have to worry about how it's going to come. You don't have to worry about whether it's going to come. You know it's going to come, because all you're doing is learning how to operate your magical machinery. Okay? Because just like if you drop a pen and the pen falls to the floor, you know that's going to happen all the time, because that's a law. The same thing goes with magic. If you do it right, it will always work, and you don't have to worry about it. So that's that. So we have these three phases of mind: superconscious, conscious, and deep, or subconscious. I like deep mind. Because subconscious and unconscious, sometimes people get real clinical about that. So it's better for me if we just use more magical terms like that. Okay, so that's basically the theory of how magic works. Everything in your life now. People get very upset with this because they think it's talking about blame, and it's not talking about blame, but everything in your life is a reflection of, something in your psyche. So your money is something that is being held in place by a matrix of thought forms. And the only way to fix the money issue is to change the thought forms. No matter what you do, no matter how well you budget, no matter how hard you work, you're never going to get ahead until you change those thought forms. So if you change the thought forms, it's almost no matter what you do, you're going to get ahead. I mean, I don't know if you've known anybody like that, but I've known some people that they can't help but be successful. I mean, they're wired for it. I mean, they get up and they drop something and it becomes gold. I mean, that's just how they are. It's not because they're lucky. It's because that's how they're programmed. And you can wire yourself to be that way too. You can wire yourself so that you have great relationships. You can wire yourself so that you have great health. Anything is possible on the level of what magic is. Now, we've talked about sphere of influence, and that's there so that you stay focused on on getting success. We want you to work within your sphere of influence, and if that's a term that's new to you, you probably haven't been around the way I teach. So you may want to get on the forums, and we'll talk more about that, because I don't want to waste time going over old concepts. And I'll take questions in just a moment. But the reason why we talk about your sphere of influence is because we want to be able to foster faith. Because without faith, magic doesn't work. We know about our witch's pyramid: faith, imagination, will, and secrecy. So we're going to be dealing with that a lot in the 6 weeks. And each of those points of the pyramid are connected to different energy bodies. Your fire body, or we call that your desire body, or your will. We have the imagination is linked to your air body, or your mental body. Secrecy is linked to your earth body. And faith is linked to your water body. Now, your faith can also be linked to your earth body, because it's fine to have your faith be like a rock, right? But so some of these attributions, like in all magic, are somewhat arbitrary, and don't get locked into any symbolism getting you off your off your power base. But the point being is that the reason why we use our sphere of influence is because we need to know that what we're going to do is A, possible, and B, something that is probable, so that when we get it, we are getting into a habit of success. So that success builds faith, and the stronger your faith, the speedier your results are. So the more faith that you have in what you're going to do, the quicker it comes. You begin to collapse time almost in regards to how things can show up for you. And that's one of the other reasons why we don't want to care about how it's going to come, because if you start looking under the covers or under the hood to see, is it coming, you're telling yourself, I don't believe it. So it's better to just say, I don't know how it's going to come, and it's a mystery, and that's wonderful, but I know it's coming. Okay, and so if you start within your sphere of influence, then your faith is built very rapidly. But when your faith is built rapidly, you'll notice that your sphere of influence expands very rapidly until very quickly what you thought would be impossible is something that you're working on right now, because you know it's coming. And it always does come, and it always works. Just like dropping the pen will always fall to the floor, doing your spell will always get you the results that you want. It may not always come in the form that you thought it was going to come exactly, but it's always better. It's never worse. Why? Because we're using our superconscious mind, and the superconscious mind is really, really smart. It knows more than you do. And so when you're tuned into your superconscious mind and you let it have free reign over your results, it's always better than what you thought it was going to be. It's never like you never have to settle. You never have to say, oh, well, I wanted a job at as a manager, but I may as well be at McDonald's. At least it's a job. No. It will be more like you're getting your own branch. in an industry that you thought wouldn't even be possible for you because you didn't have enough education or whatever. But so that's how this works. It's not only is it going to happen, but it's always going to be better than you ever thought possible. Always, always, always. Okay? And that's because we are using those three levels of mind, and we're understanding what they are: superconscious, conscious, and deep. All right. Any questions so far on what I just said with that little bit of theory? Okay. Oh, are you don't hear me anymore, Willow? I'm sorry you don't hear me. I don't know what to say. Maybe does everybody not hear me now? Can anybody hear me? Should I start the call over again?
I can still hear you.
Okay, so almost everybody except for Willow can hear me. So Willow, I think it might be in your system. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. It doesn't look like it's on our end. Okay. All right, so first off, the first thing that you're going to be doing, and don't worry about this. This is going to be fun, okay? Think in terms of, oh, goody, I get to do this, okay? It's only 6 weeks. Okay, it's only 6 weeks. So when you're ready, try to start it this week if you can. When you're ready, I want you to put every single magical tool away, far away. That includes altars, knives, chalices, robes, magical incenses, cords, everything. Put it away. Lock it up somewhere. Get it out of your sight. Nothing witchy at all. Nothing with any magical use. That's especially anything that's been consecrated for magical use. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about decor and aesthetics. I mean, if you like to burn incense because it smells good, or if you like to burn candles in your home, that's fine. But nothing with a specific magical purpose. If you want to burn the money draw incense just because you like the way it smells, fine. But you're not burning it to draw money. If you want to wear your pentacle or whatever because you like it, think it's pretty, fine. But you're not wearing it because you think it's an amulet. Okay? everything that has a purpose for you magically, I want you putting it away, because I don't want you to rely on any physical tool for the next 6 weeks. We are relying on you 100%. And this may be too much for you, and if it is, that's fine. You can start later. This is all getting recorded. You can start it later if this is too hard. But for those of you who are ready to actually do something significant, get rid of your tools for 6 weeks only. You can come back to them,